So on the little painting I'm doing today, I'm taking a little teapot that my daughter gave to me on Mother's Day one year, and I set up a still life, and then I went into my photo editing and I messed with it just a little bit, sort of changed the tone of the color a little from a coal black to something a little warmer. I kind of took some liberty with the flowers that were in it. I messed with them several times, couldn't figure out what I wanted exactly, but I think I finally settled on something, but didn't exactly paint what you see in the photo. And I do this a lot. You know, you make the painting your own. You can change colors if you want to, you can move things around if you want to. That does not mean that if you don't know how to paint a teapot, you paint a box. Or if you can't figure out how to make the perspective on someone's leg look like it's coming toward the camera like it is, you just cut it off short and it just is a stubby leg and doesn't look right. You have to learn how to do those things, and it's very hard. It's the hardest part of art for me. So drawing, I am not great at, but I work at it. And there's a little difference between drawing and painting. You don't draw lines, you push the edges together and it makes a line basically, or a connection between two things. Paint light to dark, now you have an angle. So that's the way you draw when you're painting. So it's not exactly the same thing as learning how to draw. But you do have to understand perspective, and you have to look at it and say, that doesn't look right. Let me figure out why and correct it. If you can't see that it's wrong, then you need to learn more. I had some fun with this, messing with the colors, changing them just a little bit. And I think I've gotten a reasonable rendition of the teapot with a little bit of the detail in there, a little bit of the texture on the pot and the light shining in one area, which is very important to me. I could not quite get my light to do that, so I went into my photo editing and I lit up just that area that I wanted lit. And that's important so that you have the correct focal point in your painting. You can do all this in photo editing if you want to. So whether you're doing a landscape or a still life, you can change things around to the way that you like them. Or even if you're standing outside on plein air and painting a beautiful mountain, and you also want the tree that's on the right hand side that's not right in this focal point here, move it over if it makes a better painting for you, as long as you still have the same feeling of the place, so when you look at it you remember where you were at. You don't want to completely change something, because otherwise you might as well paint in the living room. It's your fantasy, it's not actually what you saw. Does that make sense? I hope so. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the painting. So here we go. And what am I doing? I'm in a dark room. I'm trying to set up a still life. And I'm struggling, especially while I'm trying to show you how to do this with the camera, to get the flower just the way I want it, to get the teapot the way I want it, to get the light just the way I want it. It's very hard. The teapot is the star. So I want that light shining right on the teapot. So I did a little watercolor here just really quickly, just to try out the colors, try out the design, see if I think it will work or not, even though I'm planning on painting it black in the background. I guess you have to wonder which is better, the black or the not black. I see the top isn't right. It needs to be much more narrow. I've got it down too far this way. Why am I whispering? Because for once they're sleeping and I can work just a little bit. Birds aren't screaming, dogs are quiet. Yes. So the colors I have today are starting with a little Galclin, Galcoid, let's see. Galcoid, it's from Gamblin, has solvent free. so no odor at all. Titanium white, cadmium yellow light, yellow ochre, primary magenta, and ultramarine blue. And from these colors, I will make all my colors, including a nice burnt sienna and all my greens. And then my little peach color that I'm going to have on these flowers over here. I'm going to come in and out so you can see me painting here and there. I'm going to start with the flowers because they are the lightest thing, and usually you do the lightest thing last, but in this case I need these flowers to stay bright and beautiful. I need some white, some yellow, tiniest little bit of red, make them sort of a peachy color. Then I'm going to put them in very lightly just so I have them down, established. I don't want to put anything in thickly right now. Yes, I have these drawn in a little differently, but it was just a space saver for me. I didn't mean to exactly copy what I had here. Now I want to paint in some of these green leaves. So into the same pile, I'm going to go with some yellow, a dash of blue, a little yellow ochre, a little more blue. A little bit of my medium, because I just want this to flow, starting with the stems. Doesn't matter how thick I make these, because I will be cutting them back. I made several decisions about where I wanted this stem to go. I've tried 10 different ways. I need more yellow and a little bit of white. This one here is pointy, fat, and then very narrow again. These are just, like I said, space savers. That's why they're here. We need to have the spot saved. If I put the dark in first, you will never see these flowers or these leaves because the rest of this painting is quite dark. One goes in front, one goes behind. We'll have to put the behind part in later. This is here. Tiny bit of water. And now I'm going to sort of just dab, dab, dab. Okay, a few more of these. Bit of green here and there on these plants, on these leaves. All right, we have the basics. I can put in a couple of other things later, but I have to put the background in, which is why I am desperately trying to get the location of these things in there. That's good. Now I have a pile of green. I want to make some really background right now. So what am I going to do? I'll take the same pile. It doesn't matter. Yes, there's a little bit of white in there, but I think we're going to be okay. Now, I just want to go ahead and put this in so we don't lose it. It's a very big brush. I'm going to stop talking because I need to edit out a lot of what I'm saying. And I won't want to do that if I'm talking. So I've sped this up some so you can watch me paint the whole painting without having to cut any out, except the final details in the end. Also, I think I'm going to change the stem on that flower just a little bit once again for the 15th time. I'm still not happy with it because there's a tangent there. It's running right along the back of the pot along the edge, and I don't like that. But you see how I'm mixing all my colors from the same, what do I have there? 4 colors down and white. Darker, lighter, depending on how much of the blue I add and the red. Warmer when I want to add the yellow ochre. Lighter, of course, when I want to add the white. Back and forth. I even wipe some out when I decide I want to lighten an area and it's already got enough paint on it that it's going to be hard to lighten. So I take my rag and wipe out. I adjust the handle where I see I didn't quite paint it right. It's just a series of corrections. See here, I'm wiping out a little color just so I can get a little more light in there. I see lots of tones in the pot, the way the light is shining on it. I'll probably work on that flower with a smaller brush when I finally do the final details on it. I'm not going to put a ton of details on this painting. I'm not looking for detail, I'm looking for just big, bold colors. There are 3 main colors in this cloth that surrounds the pot. The base color, or the local color, whatever you want to call it, the true color of the actual cloth, then the highlighted color where each mound comes up high and the light shines off of it, and then the darker color that is down in the grooves in all of the folds. I'm going to exaggerate those to start with, but then I'm going to smooth it out just a little bit. Now, if I wanted to leave it very graphic, I could leave it very exaggerated, and I'm always torn. I'm kind of a representational artist, and I do like to do things a little more like they really look, but that does take the little bit of the fun out of it when you want to make things a little more animated and a little more, I don't want to say abstract, but expressionistic. Now this is the hardest part because I have to trace out everything with the dark background. So I'm basically painting in the negative here. And yes, I will paint out some of my lines and have to put them back in again, but that's okay. The left side, I add a little more yellow ochre to because the light is shining from the right side toward the left side and it's hitting back there and making it a little brighter on that side. I'm going to have to add in my big highlight on the pot right on the apex of the concavity and convexities on that pot and right on the edge of the petals of those flowers so that you look right there. And that's where you will see the true color right before and after that main highlight. The rest of the pot will either be in lots of light or lots of shadow. See, this right side has more blue in it, which is making it darker. I don't know if you can see that right from this angle. So when you're sitting up close like this, you need to step back, evaluate, decide if you like what you see, and adjust it. Take a few moments, change the lighting, really look at it, decide if you think it's coming along the way you wanted it to, and think about it a little bit. Maybe take a few photos. See if you want to change anything. And then come back. And I put my paints in my little plastic cover. It's just actually made for the refrigerator, but it keeps them dry for the rest of the day. They're oil paints, they'll be fine. If I really need to put them in an airtight container, I can, but this is good enough for a temporary container. So here's where we are at this point. I'll make a few changes. Might change that stem, like I said, on that flower, but we're coming along pretty well. I'll show you the final details when we're all done. Eventually, I will take the light on the folds in the blanket and blend it, then take the dark and blend it into the medium, And altogether it will come to look like folds instead of streaks on the material. So in certain places, like deep inside the recess of the fold right here, it might be a little darker. Wherever you really think it's coming around into a deeper area and a deeper crease. Over here, this is a convoluted fold. And as it comes in here, it's a little darker. Over here, right here. I don't need a lot of paint on the brush to accomplish that. What happened to you? Okay. Just makes it a little deeper there, a little more color in there is a deeper fold. So I think we've got a pretty good concept of the blanket, the folds, the flower. It doesn't have to be perfect. It is impressionistic, but it's important that we have the light hitting in our focal point and the biggest amount of detail in this area next to the darkest dark, the lightest light. And I think we've accomplished our painting here. Definitely, it's about the teapot, but the flower accentuates it and helps you to look in the focal area. There's just a little bit of texture here to simulate the texture on the pot. There's a little bit of pink in this pot because it's reflecting from here. Up here it's darker because it's reflecting more of the background. These are not as detailed because they're farther back. Same thing with this leaf here. But when you look at these, there's more detail on them. And yeah, you could do a lot more detail if you wanted to, but we just really want to focus in on the highlight that is hitting the pot right there. That's where the light is going, and that's where I want you to look the most, even though I do want you to travel around the canvas, enjoy yourself, but come right back there. No, I didn't do these flowers perfectly or anything else because that's not the kind of painter I am. I could sit here all day and make these flowers perfect, but I really am the kind of painter that really wants to step way back and make an impression from here. And then maybe it will make you get closer and go, how did she do that? Oh, look, it's just big, fat, bold strokes that kind of tricks your eye into thinking there's tons of detail, but there really isn't. There is photorealism, but this is kind of like trickster painting, impressionistic painting. That's why I love it. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you'll join me again on the next painting episode. We don't know what we're going to be doing just yet, but we'll figure it out. In the meantime, don't forget, everyone, you can paint too.